Good morning. So today we're going to be starting our database unit, and there's a couple of concepts I want you to understand. First of all, that Access is the computerized version of a database management system. A database management system can also be a filing cabinet that back in the olden days might have been used by, for instance, a doctor's office. When a new patient comes in, there is a file folder that's made with that patient's name, last name, address, their medical history might be included in that as well. And every time they come into the doctor's office for a visit, then a new record is added to that file folder to indicate what might have happened on that visit. So a database management system can be a paper form, but we obviously in today's world use a database management system on the computer to manage databases, and we do that for a number of reasons. Obviously, the most important is that it's faster and probably a little bit more reliable for gathering data into different subgroups. We'll look at how those subgroups are done a little bit later. But what you're looking at right now are just some of the key terms and areas of Microsoft Access. Some of them, let's just go over a few of them. We won't do all of them, but I'll show you some. So the name of the database is in the same position as it was with Excel and Word. It's right here, and this one is called Members. It's the same one you'll be opening in a moment. Then we have the ribbon, which is familiar. That's the same as Word and Access. We have a open and close shutter bar right here. This expands and contracts this space, this big square or rectangle right here. Um, this member right here is the name of the data sheet that is being viewed right now. Each one of these lines is a record in itself. Here's the record indicator. For instance, Bruce has an address and a phone number and an indication of whether or not his membership type is an individual, a family, or a senior. This particular Bruce is an individual membership. That just is a category that they've created for this type of field. You can't see it on this. Let me minimize this a second. And this is actually the members database that you're going to pull up in a minute. And I'm going to double click on members here so that you can see the whole picture. Bruce was right here. He has a member ID. So every one of the records has a member ID, and the name, first and last, and address are all attached to this member ID. Let's go back to this sheet now. We have, in this area, we have a next record, previous record, beginning of the record, end of the record, and a new record option. And I'm going to show you how those work down here. So if we click on the beginning, it takes us to the very beginning of the member records. In this case, we only have 10 members, but it could be a 2,000 member database, in which case it doesn't all fit on one page. If we want to go to the very end of the database, we click this one with the bar, the arrow in the bar. We go to the very last record. If we want to go back one or forward one, we obviously use those. And then if you want to create a new record, then this would be your creation record right here. Let's go back to our PowerPoint and see if there's anything else. The fields themselves, we have a first name field, an address field, a city, state, zip, home, cell, and member type fields. Within each one of them, we have a field value. So for instance, this field right here, the value is the phone number. The value here is the word family. So the value can be either numerical or alphabetical or letter version. So the field or the value is whatever is in that particular field. First, last record. Okay, so I think we've covered most of this stuff. So let's go ahead and close this out. And let's go ahead and go into our Access database. And let's go ahead and open up your members file. When you open it, it's going to look like this with nothing in the middle over here. You may have gotten a security warning when you open. Go ahead and enable that content and close the security warning field or error, and then just go ahead and go straight on to the tutorial. And we're going to start, we've kind of already covered 1.1, 1.2, so we're going to go ahead and start on 1.3. Alright, so your screen should look like this now. And if you look to your left under tables, we're going to have the word member. And then under queries, we're going to have family members, individual members, and senior members. Queries are just basically asking for a subset of information from the table, or to show me all records that have the family membership, or all records that have the individual membership, or all records that have the senior membership. So this is just a pull out of all of the information in this database. Under forms, we have a member list, and that's just basically a form that allows us to insert members in a form format instead of a into the screen that looks like Excel did. And then under reports, we are asking for a report of all the members in a printable format. So these are all different categories: tables, queries, forms, and reports. So the very first thing we're going to do is double click on the word member, and we will now see all of our members. We can insert new records by clicking and adding them in underneath each row, but we also have a form where we can insert the members lists. We'll look at that in a second. So under queries, let's double click on family members, and now we have a tab here that shows the family memberships. Notice the membership type is only those with families, so there are technically 4 members out of our entire database that are family memberships. Then let's click on individual memberships. We have 3 individual ones out of all of these, and senior memberships we have 3, so 4, 3, 3. If we look on forms, we'll see we have the member list, and we can go to each record in a form format as opposed to looking at them in a database format like this. And under reports, this is a printable version of every one of our members, and it's just a report that shows all the members. We could have set this up to show all of the members within a certain zip code if we wanted to, but reports can be printed in all different ways, more than just one. Okay, so that's how we get all of these different tabs up here, and then of course we can move around from each one as we need to. The other thing we can do is open and close the shutter bar. So if we want to see all of this space covered with our database, we've now minimized this navigation pane. Obviously we can open it up again. If we don't want to see all of it, we can close all of our queries, we can close our forms, we can close the reports if we don't want to see them, or expand them if we do. And we can search for a name in our database. That's helpful if we have, like I said earlier, 2,000 names and you want to find all the people whose last names are Stevens, then we could search for it that way. Okay, first thing, let's click on this record number. It's the second one. It's 254312. And I just want you to get a feel for moving around in the document. So click on your tab key, and you'll notice that every time you click on that tab, you go to the very next field all the way through. If you click on your down arrow key, you then move down, left arrow key to the left, up arrow key, you move around just like a game. Okay, so now let's say we're lost in the middle of our document somewhere. Let's click on the home key on your keyboard, and it will take you to the member ID. If you hold down Control Home, it takes you to the very first record in the member ID. If you click your page down, it'll take you to the very last record. So let's hit Control Home and go to the very top. Again, let's get lost in our document somewhere. So just come anywhere out in the middle and then click your home key, and you go to the very beginning of that particular record. And if you hit Control Home, you go to the very beginning of your document first record. So go ahead and play with that for a second. Okay, next let's click the last record button in the bottom left corner, and it should take you to the 976541. Then I want you to hit Tab, and you should be on the last name field. Let's retype in Richmond, and then hit Tab. The first name field should be the current field that's highlighted. Click the first record button in the bottom left-hand corner, and it will then take us to the first name in our database. Then let's click our next record button, and it'll take us to the first name of the next record. Click on the current record right here and highlight the 2, and let's type in a 7 and see where that'll take us. So it takes us to the first name of the 7th record. Okay, and the next thing what we've discovered is that Castle Rack is spelt wrong. So we are currently in first name Betty. Let's click in the address field and then hit our tab button, and let's go over to the right of the A, backspace, and type in an O for Castle Rock, and let's hit enter. Okay, when we hit enter, I believe we should be in the zip code field now. So let's go down one to record number 846000, Laporte, Laporte, and let's highlight the zip code 80243, and let's type in the 11111 and hit enter. Okay, so we know that that zip code is wrong, so let's go ahead and hit our undo button. And the zip code is now back to where it's supposed to be. You guys should have already known that one. And the next thing we're going to do is hit Control and Home. And we are now back to the very first record and the member ID. Okay, now we want to try to select more than one column, so let's click on the last name column, hold down your Shift key, and let's move over to the State field selector and click on State, and then you'll notice that all 5 columns are selected. If we go back to member ID is now selected, and all the other ones are deselected. Okay, so here in this very blank left-hand column, this is our record selector area. So let's choose the 3rd record down and select the entire record by clicking in the gray space. Then let's go up to the very top left-hand gray cell and click that, and you'll notice now that you've selected your entire database. So select one record by using your record selector area, select the entire record by choosing the top left record selector. Okay, next let's delete a record. So let's choose the row selector for record 846000. And once we have the entire row selected, hit your delete key, and it says yes, or you are about to delete one record. Are you sure? Say yes. And then it goes away. Okay, next we're going to copy a record by clicking on the record selector area for Shane Stevens, which is record number 434871. And let's go up to the copy button in the clipboard section, hit copy, and then let's go to paste, and let's choose paste append, and it will put an actual copy of that record at the bottom of our database. Okay, so you'll notice now that we have 2 records that have the same member ID. That confuses any kind of electronic device. You can't have 2 records that have the same ID. So we're going to actually change this one to 45790. And then let's push the up key. Okay, now let's go back up to the original Shane Stevens, record ID 434871. Click on that, and let's go up to the clipboard area, hit cut, and say yes. And then let's go down to the original, or to the new record area, and click on the very first record there and choose paste and paste append, and there now we have Shane Stevens at the very bottom with the 2 different record numbers. So we've cut and pasted a record from somewhere else in the middle of the document. And the very last thing we want to do is go ahead and delete the record number for Shane Stevens that ends in 900. So we will cut that out and say yes. Okay, go ahead and save this as database with your initials in your H drive, and